I want to cut to the chase. How do I get what I want? We're going to give you the recipe to get what you want.
You start to build that confidence and you start to wake up.
Our brain has its own engine, right? We have to talk to it and give it moments that it can release some dopamine and get us to feel good. I think that everybody who is here, everybody who is watching this, has basically kind of three identities in you. A hero, the person that wants to really exert your power, see what you can do with the talents that you have. Everybody has what I call the angel, which is the part of us that wants to understand and give love and receive love in the most pure way possible. And then I also think all of us have a villain in us. And I'm not talking about like the, evil guy, twisting his mustache. It's the part of us that has experienced trauma and has tried to react to it in a way that seeks to, like, this will never happen to me again. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to behave in whatever way I have to behave to protect myself. And what I want to do with it during all of these coaching sessions is set this up as a way for us to talk about the different parts of ourselves and how you're going to use each one of those in order to achieve the big things that you want to achieve and become the person you want to become. And then, things like motivation. What is going to get you to the things that you want to have? And what we're going to do is if you follow us on TikTok and YouTube, we'll provide a daily affirmation or an exercise or reinforcement for the things that we talk about in each one of the episodes. So that if you watch us on Thursdays, you're going to have a week of support as you go along and trying to make those dreams come true. And I'll let you talk now, Tyler, but I think that the reason why I do coaching is because I want something really badly and I want to make it happen for myself. And I need the perspective of others to do that. So
I agree. I think having someone there that kind of, I saw this, out of all places, an Instagram reel the other day where this guy was talking about shadow work. And I thought it was kind of like in a corny way, but it was not corny enough so that I stopped watching it. And he was saying the reason why we need community or we need therapists, we need coaches, we need other people in our healing journey is because like your shadow is behind you. And like, as soon as you turn around to go look at it, like your shadow's over here now. And so you need other people that can be objective and see for you, but you also need to be able to trust those people with what they tell you. So that's been a really hard thing for me. And I think, ironically, trauma, but to listen to other people and to trust other people and to let other people be a part of my life in that sort of way. But doing that and seeking advice and seeking perspective and seeking to build those relationships with people that can give me that insight and hopefully who I can give insight to, really, it's only made me better. It's only been for the better. And even when people don't have your best interest or they say something wrong or it doesn't exactly fit, you can still take all that information and because like at the end of the day, you still make your own decision. So any information, any perspective can be just enough to get you out of your own thought process.
Yeah. Give it a taste. If you don't like it, you can spit it out. But one thing that we can say for sure is we're not here to sell you anything. We're not going to ask you to, if you want more information, buy our coaching program. That's never going to happen. You're going to get whatever we can give to you through this platform for free. And we talked about the last session, why we do this. But the main reason is we both walk through these fires and gotten to a plateau, not the top of the mountain. I still have things that I want to make happen in my life, but I've gotten to a plateau where I can look back and say, wow, I learned so much. And I went from here to here to here to here. And I just want to share that process. And then of course we bring all of the experience we have. We've been there.
I have also reached a point where I feel like I've gotten my footing. And I was just telling my wife today that I was looking for some different just kind of projects to get into, different things to do with work. And I was thinking when I was going for them, and even when I was doing a live yesterday and I was even on the live, I was thinking like this is my first time doing it. Or like, this is like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm still trying to do it. And I was talking to my wife, like, I don't know why I go into pretty much everything like it's my first time when it's not. But I think what it what it made me realize is that I think at any given moment, I'm realizing how much there is to be done or that can be done, or how far, not how far away I am from things that I want, but how much progress there is to make. And so I think that gives me a sense of excitement in coming to, something like this, where we get together and get to talk about that journey, or I'm doing my content and I get to talk about that journey, because every day I'm coming into it like, okay, what can I learn? What can I do? And maybe what can I share that I'm really excited about? And I don't know, something that's kind of my engine that kind of keeps me going.
And this is what we want to give to people, is this every day being able to wake up and say, I'm really excited about my life, even though I haven't arrived at the destination, because I don't think my destination is in this world, but I have an excitement about my life because of all this work, and you're the same, and that's what we want to give to people, is that feeling of even though I'm not perfect in every way, it doesn't matter, because I have found the thing, and we want to give that thing that everybody has that's unique to them, so that they wake up every day excited. And given that, I want to kind of cut to the chase, which is what I think a lot of people are here for, is let's get into, how do I get what I want, right?
Okay.
So what I'm hoping to do with this episode is break down the process of getting the things that you want. And what we're going to discover, I think, is that on the way to getting what you want, and it is like a recipe. We're going to give you the recipe to get what you want, but you're going to see the parts of the recipe where maybe your eggs aren't really as fresh as they should be. Maybe you're missing something you have to run to the store to get. You may not have all the ingredients of the recipe yet, but you're going to have the recipe and you're going to start working towards it. How have you, kind of looking back, were you able to make those dreams and visions come true?
Probably starting with contrast, just realizing what I don't want, and maybe kind of a naive attempts at trying to go for things that I think I want, and then just kind of getting a really rough experience of that just not being what I thought it was going to be. Well, kind of like you were saying, like you wake up every day excited, and when I thought of that, I think of people, or I think of myself. And I talk to people on a pretty regular basis who, you're in bed, you're depressed, or you're anxious. You don't know if you're going to get this job. You don't know if your relationship is going to work. And you just wake up and you just have all this anxiety. You have all this depression. You have all this stress. And you just don't want to get out of bed, or you just don't know what to do. Those events happen to you and you realize, okay, well, there is something on the other side of it. I kind of feel like shit right now, but I can get to the other side of it. And I think once you get those reps in, almost like literally like lifting weights, like at the bottom, like when it's super hard, the weight's super heavy, but eventually you can lift it up and you can do a couple. And once you realize that, you start to build that confidence, and you start to wake up excited, even when it's a shitty day. You're like, okay, I know I can get through it though. I've done it before. And for me, that's what that process was like. It's just, what do I want? Okay, that's not it. And waking up just almost like for years, just with, I won't say the sole focus, because I wasn't that focused, but somewhere throughout the day, just realizing that I have to find a way to tap back into whatever that is. And if I don't know what that is, I need to spend the day trying to figure out what that is. And a lot of that time, it's kind of like that Bible story where you're just wandering in the desert. It feels like there's just nothing there, but you just have to keep wandering. You just have to keep walking. You just have to keep going. And eventually you start to understand it, and you can kind of gravitate towards it a lot quicker. And you can find it a lot quicker when you lose it.
Okay, there's a lot there that that I want to. I hate that. Like, I want to unpack it, but it does have to be unpacked. Is if you are experiencing that kind of feeling where you don't even want to get out of bed, number one, you need to find out if there isn't a physical cause for that. And some of you are going to be like, did that? I already know it. It's just that life sucks. Okay. There's a lot that's happened to me. There's a lot that I think is going to happen. I hate my job. I'm running on a treadmill all the time. And what your advice is really important. You have to build in points in your day that get you going, like the carrot and the stick thing. You've got to have, I have this in my routine, and maybe I'll share my routine, that while I wake up every day excited about, what I have to do, I also have a lot of responsibilities that I have to take care of that I do not want to do. So I build in small moments of reward. I mean, literally. So we're working with our brain, and the weird thing is our brain has its own engine, right? It's going and it's doing stuff that we're not particularly aware of. We have to talk to it and give it moments that it can release some dopamine and get us to feel good. Taking a walk with my dogs in the morning makes me feel good. So I do that now. I understand if a lot of people are like, that sounds like, like torture. Like, I don't want to walk the dog. It's not fun. But you can build in whatever it is. Like, I'm going to get up and get a cup of coffee. Oh, that's for me. I get up and I make coffee in the morning. I meditate, and I'm going to show everybody how to meditate at some point, or maybe you could do it as well. Because I think it's really important, maybe not meditation, but mindfulness. Because that can be a reward too, that I'm going to stop and relax for 5 minutes. When, I hate to say this, but I'm just going to be honest. I also smoke, and I have 2 cigarettes a day, and I break them in half, and I have one after I go for my walk with the dogs. I am not recommending this, but this is how I balance my own dopamine. It's this moment of, I have a half a cigarette. Do not recommend this at all, but I'm a human being, so this is what I do. Then I don't eat until about 2:00, so I get a lot of dopamine rush thinking about what I'm going to make when I eat. I have a little bit of chocolate every day, so I look forward to that. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi eats like chocolate all day long. And that's that keeps her going. And that woman's like 80 something. And so, what I'm saying is that you find, I mean, for some people it's, I have weed, I do whatever. I am not saying to do any of that, but I'm saying that we all need moments of pleasure, right? Things that we can look forward to. So try to make them healthy. Do what I've done, which is harm reduction. Just if you're going to smoke, you just smoke a little bit, whatever. So I'm just going to get in so much trouble for this, but I want to be honest, So what allows you to do is start that engine going, right? And then there's something that you said that I think is really important too, which is now you have to know what you don't want. So you talked about this, the process of contrast. You know what you don't want. So let's get you thinking. Everybody needs to be thinking about, what is it that I don't want, so that you can get to what you do want. Now, if you're somebody who's very clear on what you want, you're already ahead of the game, right?
Well, I think the contrast thing is, I think it's a very rudimentary system, but I think it's probably the easiest and probably the most practical way to start, because kind of like you said, like the 2 cigarettes a day. Okay, maybe not ideal. I'm sitting here and I probably do about 5 to 6 cups of coffee a day. And no, that's probably not going to be sustainable. My overall goal is probably to cut down on that. But in the morning, the kids get straight to, you need to change diapers. They need to eat. They want something. They want to play. They want to do all this stuff. There's chores to do. There's work to do. And so for me, sometimes when I'm laying there in bed, I can hear my kids starting to cry, starting to call for us. And the one thing that's going to get that engine going is just kind of pulling myself up out of bed and just going to the coffee machine and just making a cup of coffee. And it's not even the coffee. It's probably not even the caffeine at this point. It's just the ritual of doing it.
Yeah. So you're giving something to yourself. You're doing something for yourself, right? It's so for some people it's, taking a 10-minute shower or some, whatever it is. Try and make it healthy. Try and make it, what do we say at Bounce Back Generation about a coping skill? A good coping skill makes you feel good today and just as good tomorrow. I'm going to share with everyone the recipe that I talked about, and I'm using the methodology by a woman named Helen Hadsell, who is really a fascinating character, and she won so many prizes, just sweepstakes and money and prizes and contests. Every contest she entered, she basically won. She won a house. She won millions of dollars worth of stuff over the years. And so her process this is basically manifestation, right? But we need to start there, because nobody's going to get out of bed if we say, work on your trauma. It's just that's not, you want to work on the things that you really desire. That's your motivation. So the first thing, so it's called SPEC, S.P.E.C. So the first is select. So what you're talking about with that contrast is, you know what you don't want, and that's helping you to figure out what you do want. So you have to select the thing that you want. Maybe talk about somebody that you've worked with who's selected something that you watched them go through that process. Or I can talk about a story as well.
Usually it's something to do with pain. Like people don't want to feel pain. Like sometimes somebody will
Mm-hmm.
come in and be like, I want $1 million. I want to start a business, or like I want my relationship to work, or they want something very specific. And so they're almost like fixating on something that's going to get them out. Like if I have the $1 million, or if I work on this thing, or if I'm able to do this, or if I can have this, then my normal everyday stress won't be there. But like, hey, here's an easier like way. Like, let's just talk about your normal everyday stress so that you can manage it, and we don't have to like jump 10 steps ahead.
What you're saying is people come to you and they say, I just don't want to feel like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing. That is a thing. So that you can select that, but you have to be very detailed. What about how you're feeling do you not want, right? And it could be like, well, I don't want to feel like I can't get out of bed. I don't want to feel afraid of my future. I don't want to feel like I've been rejected by the person that I love. I don't want to feel but those are all negatives. So can you take what that feeling is and turn it into something that you do want? And I think that's the number one kind of initial challenge. And to do that, I think it's very helpful to start a mindfulness practice, which is simply time that you put aside to listen to that inner voice that is going to be more positive. So there's a part of your voice that's going to say, I hate this feeling. I hate being here. I hate this, or I just want to run away from this thing. And if you get quiet, there's a part of you that'll say, what I really want is, and you'll feel the difference. It's like a little flower that opens up and says, what I really want is to be accepted for who I am. What I really want is to be, to feel like I'm loved. What I really want is to be able to show the world what I can do. So let's take a moment, kind of like what we used to do in our staff meetings, and just do a quick mindfulness moment. And then there on our website and on our YouTube channel, there are other mindfulness moments that you can do on your own. But it's very simple. You don't need anybody to really guide you too much. So let me give you the kind of the basics, and then you being the listener, the viewer. And so hopefully you'll get these basics and you'll start using it for yourself if you don't already have a practice. And I know a lot of people probably already do. All right. So the way that I do it is you want to find a comfortable position. I'm not someone who says you have to sit up and you have to cross your legs and, go like this. I think you have to be comfortable. And later on, you can, build your practice where you're very disciplined and all that. But in the beginning, I think it's just important to feel comfortable. And then you can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels right for you. And we want to just practice our breathing. So I put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And when you breathe in, you want to feel your chest, your stomach go out. And that means you're getting the breath deep into your lungs. And when you breathe out, you want to go slowly out through your mouth, and you'll feel your chest go down. And this is a very good breathing technique if you're going through an anxiety attack as well. You want to get control of that anxiety attack, which is a whole thing we'll talk about at some point. So because it gets your brain to start to control your body and calm it down. So let's do 3 of these. Breathing in through your nose. Your belly goes out, and breathe out through your mouth slowly, and your chest goes down. Now you do it on your own, and then you can relax your hands, put them wherever feels comfortable. And we're just going to sit here as you breathe, and you don't have to breathe like that anymore. You can breathe in whatever way now you feel comfortable. Those 3 breaths are to get you centered and calm. And now we're just going to sit quietly for a minute and allow come up whatever needs to come up when you ask the question, what do I really want? What do I really need right now? Okay, as we come back, just pay attention to your breath. Now, for a lot of people, they'll say, doing that, all I get is just a lot of noise, right? Work past that. Allow that to happen. Recognize that you're getting a lot of thoughts. Let them go. More thoughts will come in. Let it go. And eventually, you'll get in touch with something that will come up that will feel very real to you, very much from the inside of you. And I think that's this is not woo-woo. When you are able to calm your body and calm your mind, your brain needs that time and that space to communicate things that are not in your immediate attention. What we just did was to help get that at that S, right? The selection. The next is P. Now you want to project. You want to talk about how you project your what you want, how you get it so you feel like you're like, I can just taste it. It's just right there.
This might be the wrong step, but if the visualization is strong enough for me, then I immediately think in action. And so after that selection phase, I meditate. Then and sometimes that noise is there, and even in just while we were sitting there, I got caught up in this. I got caught up with the question of like, what do you want? It was like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then it was almost like my brain was like shouting this at me, like, and putting pressure on me to figure it out. It's like, you have 1 minute to figure it out because we're going to get back on after this meditation. You're going to have to talk about it. And then, but then I realized, like, kind of like you said, like, let that go. Don't get tangled up in that. Don't let that anxiety, it's almost like, don't get twisted in that. Just be able to separate yourself from it for a second. And coming back to that breath allows you to do that. And I was picturing tides coming in on a beach, and maybe there's something on the beach, but you can't see it because the tide is too high. And taking those breaths gives you the chance to the tide to recede, and then you can see something. But then the tide comes back up, and the tide goes back out. But eventually, what you're trying to look for, if you're able to control that tide a little bit more, it will be there for you to just go and pick up.
I love that. What a great visual. That is really good. So what you're doing is kind of visualizing, I already have it. It's just right there. And it's just, I'm waiting for the tide to go out so I can go pick it up from the beach, right?
And so whatever that thing is in the projection, that's kind of what it is for me. Okay, if I'm able to calm myself down or reduce the noise, let the tide recede, then the thing that I'm trying to pick up, treasure on the beach or whatever, I can see it now. And all I have to do is walk over to it and pick it up. And so in real life, that might look like, how have I been with my wife this week? How have I been with the kids? Do I need to just go say, hey, sorry for that thing I said the other day? And after the meditation, usually those sorts of things will be clear. But the next action isn't to now just kind of sulk on it or think about it. It's to just walk into the house and say, hey, I remembered I said this the other day. I'm sorry. And I don't think it has to be no overall goal for me just yet. It's just that one little action. Maybe what I'm really selecting on a bigger picture is the health of my relationship or the relationship I have with my kids, or even if it's a work thing, I know by the end of the month I need to hit this target. And so the first thing is just sending that one email and then just letting myself calm down enough so I'm not taking like all this stuff. Like I'm not trying to take the whole beach home with me. I'm just trying to pick up this one little piece, and that's just the piece I need to focus on right now. And once I do that, the next one will pop up. But I might have to go through another iteration of that selection phase again, too. I might have to go back to my breath. I might have to meditate, let things calm down so I can see the next step.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. You go from selecting to projecting to action. And I tend to do that as well. A lot of the things, though, that I know that I want are not under my direct control. They're not things where I can just go to somebody. And that's true for you going and talking to your wife. Your wife may be like, okay, but I still don't forgive you, right? I mean, you haven't just accomplished everything because you've done that action. The action at some point gets sent out into, the universe, and you don't know. I'll give you my example of what I am projecting. So I write a lot of grants. That's how we do this for free. We're a nonprofit and we write grants and we get funding so that we can offer things for free. Yes, when I select, I say, I want that grant. That sounds like it fits exactly what we're doing. Then I project what I'm going to do with the funds. And then I have to do an action, which is write out the grant. And I send it off and I don't know what happens. And I cannot control. There are people that read it, that, grade it or, determine whether it fits into their vision for what they want, their own projections for what they want to accomplish with the funds that they're giving. And so part of my projection process is to have some trust and faith that I have identified what I want and I've done the action that I need to do. And the next part is the E in SPEC, which is expect it. And then I just sit back and I expect it. So I feel like, I just wrote a grant for $50,000, right? And I sit back and I feel like, I think we deserve it. I think I wrote a really good proposal, but also I can feel that, that email that says, congratulations. I can feel the money being transferred into the bounce back generation account. I can feel what it feels like to be able to open up the computer and see that the funds are there. And then being able to say, okay, we're going to purchase this. We're going to pay this person. We're going to do this thing. And I put myself into that stream where I already have it. So to me, that's an important step, that expectation. I'll tell you why I think it's really important, because I think that for a lot of us, if we don't know the process, we don't know how it's going to happen, we can just give up on it. Or we can do what I call the mental cul-de-sac. I really, really want that thing, but I'm never going to get it, so I'm not going to even try. Right? Or I don't know how that's ever going to, I want 50, if I just said, I want $50,000, $50,000 is a lot of money. So I have to have the faith that says, I can visualize it. I can select it. I can visualize it. And now I'm going to expect that it's coming.
For me, I used to think, okay, I'll do this thing, or I'll send out my shot, and, I already made it. I already did it. I do the action. I say sorry to my wife. It's fixed. Definitely there are some times when it's not fixed, and that actually leads you to the next immediate step. So you get some pushback, and then you have to decide whether you want to go through with it or not. And that's not where I'm trying to go with this, though. But almost like I did the thing, I did the action. Now my expectation, now I have to act like I expect that this will happen, or I have to act like this already happened. So if it's a job or a position or something with my family, I have to act like the first action I just did will be successful. And typically what that means for me is, okay, so if I have $1 million, so if I did this thing and I get $1 million, or, I get 100, or I get this job or whatever, and all this money comes in, like what would I actually be doing? Well, the next thing I would be doing is probably just whatever's next that I have to do. Like, is the grass, I know this is super simple, but is the grass mowed? Is the house clean? And kind of getting, okay, so if I sent my shot out, if I sent my message in a bottle out to the universe, and it's out of my hands now, I have full expectations that it'll come back in some fashion. Okay, now I don't know why. Maybe this isn't great, but I immediately think, okay, like what other messages am I trying to send out? What else am I trying to do? What other areas of my life can I focus on? Because for me, if I sit there and think about what I just did too much, I start to think myself out of it, and I start to spiral.
Yes.
It's like I already did this thing. Okay, great. Like it's going to work. It's going to come my way. But what do I do with all the free time until it actually happens? And I think that's the perfect time to kind of put in that additional work. Like even if that opportunity comes back to you, you still, when it does come back to you, you still have to be the person that can handle that opportunity when it gets to you. And so if you waste like the week or the month in between that time, that it's not going to happen for you because you're not the person that can handle it. You wasted that time. And so I think I send it out, and now it's still back to work, because I don't know, it's almost like you're running, and like imagine like you throw a ball up in the air. And if you keep running, when the ball comes back, like you'll catch it because you're far enough ahead to catch it. But if you're running, you throw the ball up in the air and you stop, well, the ball's just going to fall wherever it falls.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any.
No, that totally makes sense to me. The bottom line is, this is about positive thinking, basically. And people, it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. I think if you're a critical thinker, I think both of us are. I'm a cynical thinker too. I can see the negative in everything. I can see how things are going to go wrong. So it is, if I dwell on it, if I think about that $50,000 every single day, okay, I sent in, on April 23rd, I sent in the application and they're supposed to let me know sometime in May. Is it today? Is it today? I'm going to, I'm going to think myself out of it and, oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, forget it. So that is the truth about how we think. And, I always like to kind of explain why we're like this. It makes a lot of sense because we have to, as human beings, you have to, on one hand, be prepared for the worst, but you also have to expect the best. And so we're constantly balancing this out. And so, but the thing to realize is it's a choice. You can choose to dwell on the negative or you can choose to dwell on the positive. So I love how you put it. I think the bottom line is it's okay to have those thoughts that are negative if you're wanting to do the positive thinking part of it, the expectation part of it, but you need to stop. You only need to do that for 1 second. You need to spend the next 59 seconds of your minute thinking about it's going to be here. It's not magic, it's just keeps you going. It's the thing that motivates you, right?
Yeah, and I believe what you put out you'll get back. And so, if you spend like 1 minute putting something good out, but the next 59 minutes putting something bad out, well, it doesn't matter.
Simple. That is like the simplest math ever. If you put a lot of energy into something that is never going to happen or you don't want to happen, you're going to end up creating that thing. If you put a lot of energy into what you really want to happen, it's like building a nest, You're building the nest for the good thing to happen, or you're building the nest for the bad thing to happen. Build the nest for the good thing to happen. Be prepared for the good thing to happen. So then that brings us to the C, which is collect, right? So that's that moment when you realize it's there. I got it. Everything worked out the way I thought it was going to work out. I got whatever it is that I wanted. But there's the dark side of it where you don't get it. It doesn't show up.
In an ideal world for me, the reaction is about the same. Because if I always think of, when I come into work, I think of basketball. Like you come in, you go to practice, you just shoot your free throws, you shoot your 3 points, you just go through the motions, you build the skills. If they land, they land. If they don't, they don't. But you still put the shots up. And then when you go to the game, it's just like practice. Like you put the shots up. You're in the right place at the right time. You get the pass at the right time. You just put the shot up. You don't think about if it's going to go in. You've just been practicing. I get to this moment, I put the shot up. You just put your shots up. And so for me, if I put the shot up and it goes in, like sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, like I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie, I get excited, and I've learned that I need to. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I've learned that I need to celebrate. With all that excitement, all that energy, for me it needs to be channeled into something productive. So that might be like, hey, this thing happened. Let's go get ice cream. Or like, hey, this thing happened. You know what? Let's take the weekend to just spend time or watch a movie. Let's get that energy out and then back to work. If it doesn't happen though, it might be like, oh man, I'm kind of bummed. So let me go get ice cream because, that's going to make me feel a little bit better. Or you know what? Let me stay in for the weekend and watch a movie and then back to work. But kind of like with that analogy of like throwing the ball up, and if you keep running, you'll catch it. Or if you keep running, if you don't catch it, like at least you're still running.
You're still running. You're still going in that direction. You're still going to be there to get the next one in or whatever. I love that idea that you have to celebrate because I'm like you where I'll select something, I'll project it, I'll expect it, and it comes to me. And then I go, okay, great, move on. Oh, got that. All right. And I don't really celebrate. I'm more like, okay, well, what's next? Oh gosh, now I got to think about the next thing. I think I told you the story that over the past week or two, because it was really hot here last week, and I was thinking I have one of those portable air conditioners, but I only have one, and my son's always complaining that I have mine in my bedroom. And at night it gets really hot. We're on the second floor. It comes up, the hot air comes up. So anyway, I just had in my mind, I really want, and I started to look online for a portable air conditioner. And I said, well, they're really expensive. They're like $400 or $500. And, should I pay for it? Da, da, da. But I was, it was in my mind, like, I really want one and I'm going to see what happens. It was just as simple as that. And I don't know, like a week goes by And I have a couple neighbors that I'm friendly with, and they are moving out. And one of them texted me at like 10 o'clock at night and said, we packed up the car. We can't fit anything else in there. We have a portable air conditioner that fits into the windows style that we have here in our complex. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, they're super heavy. And I said, yeah, I guess my son and I will run over there right now and grab it. And she's like, yeah, also, we have a wagon. You can put it in the wagon and you can so I mean, in literally 5 minutes we had gone over, gotten it, put it back, and put it in our house. And that's I thought that's just, it was such a light touch. It wasn't like I sat there ruminated and I go really, okay, which actual model do I need? Any of that. I think that's important, to be thinking in the details and not just be like, but it was, like I said, it's a light touch. And I think sometimes we need that light touch, and then celebrating it. And then I told my son, like, look, I manifested this because I just had this idea in my head, like, of all the random things that she could have said, we have, it was the one thing that I've just been thinking that's a major purchase that I don't want to have to make. But I think there is something else that I find extremely important, and I use it all the time. And that is the belief that if it doesn't come, it's not the right time. And I will get it in the right time. If it's something that I truly desire, it's not the right time. The other thing is that there's something better coming along. And I believe that, like, if my car breaks down, there's something better coming along. There's something that's going to happen that's even better. This has happened to me so many times where my car has broken down, and it's like I was telling you the other day, my battery died, and $17,000 to replace it. And I didn't even worry. I said, something better is going to come along. And I took it to the shop, and they said, you're under warranty, and put in a brand new fresh battery for free. It's a way of life.
I just think it's just, I'm not the right person for this opportunity right now. And I think that's very easy to say in hindsight, to kind of look back on some of the things I really was like, I was really excited about. I really wanted to make work. And looking back in hindsight, I can clearly see, like, I just wasn't ready. Like, I didn't have the patience, or I didn't have the skills. Like, that actually probably would have been pretty bad if I would have tried to do it, because I would have messed it up because I didn't have the right mindset at the time. And so I think there are sometimes these things that you really want, and not getting them is the opportunity for you to actually build either the character or the skills you need to steward that opportunity that you have correctly. Because if it's something that's going to last, you need to be the type of person that can handle it. And I can clearly see that in my past, a whole bunch of things where I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But it makes it so much sweeter when the opportunities do land, because there's not this sense of anxiety that you'll lose it, or that it's not right, or like, now I actually got it, now what? But you get it, and like, okay, this is for me. I can do this, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that this happened, and I feel like there is a fit here, rather than having all this extra anxiety, and then maybe even just like, in relationships, like you worry so much about the relationship ending that it ends, because you're just not ready for it. And I don't know. That's I do think, I'm not super religious, but I do think you're right. Like, it's a blessing when those things don't work out. And it might not feel like it at the moment, but if you take a second look, there's probably a million things, or maybe not a million, but there's probably a handful of things that you can pinpoint to kind of tell yourself, oh, here's some things that I need to work on for the next round, or here's some things that I can do so that it's successful the next time. I get an extra year to prepare.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about this all the time from people who win the lottery. Like, they realize, I was very good at manifesting this thing, this winning the lottery. I felt like it was coming, and I knew I was going to get it, or whatever. And then they get it, and in retrospect, they're like, I was not ready for that. And so allowing yourself to grow and change in order to be ready for something, I think, is really important. But I think I would leave people with this also, in terms of that final collection stage, and just overall that desire to get what you need and want. And this has helped me a lot by doing the mindfulness time, is to spend some time quietly with yourself and allowing yourself to feel that the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever we live in, is kind. and wants to give us things. And I think that is at the root cause of a lot of people feeling like, I'm depressed, I don't want to get out of bed, I can't even imagine what I want, I only want to run away from the things that I don't feel like, is because we do not believe that we live in an existence where love and kindness is what is coming at us. Because particularly if you've been through a lot of trauma, you feel like, since I was a child, that the world is out to get you. That whatever you want, it's going to get snatched away from you. You don't deserve it. You're not going to get it. The forces of negativity are coming to get you. And that's very easy to feel in a world where things are terrible. You open up your phone and you look at the headlines, you're like, this is a cruel world. And I know that when I get quiet with myself, I don't feel like the world is cruel at me. I feel like the world has cruelty, but that it's not meant to be. And I think this gets us back to the hero, the angel, and the villain. We need to be, and I think so many of us have this urge right now because the world is so chaotic, to be heroic and stand up for what we believe in, to be angels and help people that are worse off. And there's so many people right now that are in terrible positions. And how do we recognize the villain in us and outside of us, and do what we can to prevent the villain nature in us from being harmful? At least that's how I see it.
Would you be open to describing what each three of those parts of you are? So, like, what's the hero part of you, and how does that play out, the angel and the villain?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think the heroic part is what I do here for work. I really have this intense drive. And I'll tell you when I was in my 30s, well, I think as I was growing up, I always felt like I wanted to help people. I just felt a lot of urge to do it. And I had a very not good childhood, like a lot of people did, but I was always kind of stronger and able to process things that were happening where my brothers were not, and still have residual effects from our childhood that I don't particularly have. And so I felt like that was my talent. Like somehow I was able to be okay emotionally, not perfect, but I had my issues. And then when I was in my 30s, I did like what you did. I did a lot of studying and reading and listening to, at the time it was cassette tapes and things like that, and really got a handle on what it was that I needed to understand about myself. And I developed a practice that worked for me. Like you said, I'm not religious, but I have a deep connection to whatever it is that's out there, and everybody needs to just determine for themselves what that is. So that's my hero. And I started Bounce Back Generation based on the things that I wanted to do in that respect. My angel is that I love my child. I love my friends. I love my family. And I do what I can, and I love myself, and I do what I can to get into those moments where I feel that. So I'm somebody in the family who does more of like, let's get together and let's say we love each other, and let's, kind of be in those moments together and have those togetherness moments. To me, that's really important. And then there's romantic love too, which is, another way to express that angel, where I've had romantic situations where I felt like I was the one who had to love somebody, even though they couldn't love me back in the same way. And that's a huge lesson, to love someone through the fact that they can't give you the things that you need. And I had to love myself enough as well to get out of those situations. And I played a part. I chose people who couldn't do it because I've spent a lot of time trying to be the hero, right? And so I had to realize that I had to support myself. I had to be an angel to myself. And the other thing that's really big for me is I love animals. I have 4 pets. I love them, and I spend a lot of time with them, and they're like my favorite people. And then the villain in me is I can be a cold hard bitch when I need to be. I just can. It's a power. And it feels good sometimes to be able to pull it out, and it's the thing that keeps me from being afraid of things. It's like, I know I can pull that out, but it is, it comes from trauma. It comes from being hurt. And it can be very destructive. I have lost friends because I can turn on a dime and don't you mess with me, right? And it's right there on the surface, as you can tell. I can get to it. It's like a little flint that goes off, and that's my trauma response. And I've had to learn how to manage it so that I don't destroy my life and my friendships. But it's there. But it protects me, I guess. Do you want to share yours?
Well, maybe to go off of yours, your villain is very similar to mine. I have a really good ability to use just the coldest logic. And so if somebody's annoying me or someone's pushing me a bit too far, but especially if this is a person that I've gone above and beyond for, I can just shut off, and then I can also I can also give you a pretty good reason as to why I'm shutting you off, and so is that you can't really argue with me about this, and I can find a very good way to position myself so that I have leverage in a situation. And there has definitely been times where I've used that to my benefit and to someone else's dismay. And I'm not the proudest of that. But it's also been a protection mechanism, I guess, with my parents. Like, well, if I can position myself pretty well and have a decent amount of leverage, when you come at me or you want to yell at me or you want to or whatever is happening, I can come up with a pretty good argument for, a 12-year-old as to why you're in the wrong. And now you're shocked because you realize that I'm seeing everything that you thought I didn't see. And so as I got older, I learned how to use that ability a bit more. But yeah. I think that kind of goes into my angel, though, as if I have a decent ability to, not, I won't say read people, but to understand people. And to maybe see what people need or be able to communicate with them in order to understand what their needs are, and then just be able to give them that because I want to, whether that's my kids or my wife, even in work with my parents, with everybody that I try to meet, I try to give as much as I possibly can, because why wouldn't I? And then I've kind of had to balance that with the villain, as in, like, drop any expectations. Don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like you're going to have to turn on somebody. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. And if you're going to do something, don't have any expectations that something will come back to you. Do it because that's just what you want to do. I guess my angel and my hero are kind of closely related. Wanting to give as much as I can. I think especially once I crossed a couple of hurdles in my own life, realizing I didn't have to go in the same old patterns and continue to self-destruct. And I got myself on some decent footing. I was like, oh, well, like, this is really great. I'm sure other people would want to know this, or at least maybe I can give my examples to people and who might want to at least have an example of how someone else has done it. But I think maybe where the hero really comes in is that doing that despite not being rewarded for it, or doing that despite going through personal challenges. And I don't mean this to kind of like toot my own horn or pat myself on the own back, but I do think it's a skill to continue to do, whether it's the angel or the hero, to continue to love, to continue to fight for someone, to continue to advocate, continue to put yourself out there when maybe you're also not in the best position. But kind of like you said, as a kid, maybe you happen to have a skill set where you can endure a little bit more, or you can last a little bit longer, or you can kind of keep your shit together a bit better. And I think for those people, it's tough. And I wouldn't say you have to do it, but if you're one of those people, I think that's a beautiful responsibility to have. And even if it doesn't pay off in the short term, you become, like, your character builds and you become a person that you really love to be. And I think when I look back on my life, there's been a few people in my life who have done that for me without kind of being in my face about how they did it for me. In hindsight, looking back, I can realize, like, wow, that person really went out on a limb for me. That person was really putting in a lot of effort. And that inspires me to kind of be like them and try to do the same thing when I have the opportunity to do that.
It's so interesting how your capacity to understand people and help them is a superpower. It is an angelic thing, but it can be weaponized as well, like you said, with your villain. And I think that's the thing with all of our talents, is that they can be used for good, they can be used for harm. And all we're simply doing in this particular episode is just alerting you to those personas, and trying and really getting us to start thinking about what it is that we want. And I think in future episodes, we're going to tackle some of the things you talked about, which is like there are things that are going to get in the way of you reaching those things that you want to grab, or you're going to start to realize, oh, actually, I didn't want that. I want that. And so let's continue to explore it. I hope people come back and make sure you follow us, but also go to TikTok as well. And we're going to be posting something daily.
Definitely if people want to kind of recap this, maybe what we can leave in the description is a few of the exercises, the SPEC exercise or framework, the SPEC framework, the mindfulness moment framework, but exercise, and then maybe a couple of unique journaling prompts for people to kind of go through if they want to kind of take this home and work on it a little bit more. We can have that in the description too.
Thanks for being here. Follow us by subscribing and let us know what coaching you might need. You can DM us via links in the description. If you liked your topic on the show, send us your story. Let us know if you'd like us to talk about it anonymously, or if you want to be on the show with us and join us for a tape recording. You have to be 18 years or older. Join us next week for your free online coach.